My father demanded I attend my golden brother's wedding, threatening to cut my tuition. They were shocked when I revealed I earned more than him. I never imagined I'd be here, typing out my deepest family drama on a screen, but here I am. My father, whom I've always known as a stoic, tradition-bound man, delivered an ultimatum that felt like a dagger to the heart: attend my golden brother's wedding or lose my tuition. I still hear his voice echoing down the hallway that evening, rigid and unyielding. My golden brother, as Dad insists on calling him, is my half-brother from my father's second marriage. Growing up, I watched from the sidelines as Dad lavished praise and privileges on him, touting him as the perfect son. I never minded. I was focused on my studies, determined to forge my own path. When I earned a scholarship at a prestigious university halfway across the country, I thought Dad would be proud. Instead, he shrugged it off, muttering about my mother's influence and how I'd never learned to respect family traditions. When the wedding invitation arrived, an opulent affair with hundreds of guests, expensive outfits, and a week-long celebration in a seaside villa, I was torn. I'm a graduate student juggling a demanding research assistantship and part-time teaching. My budget is tight, my schedule tighter. Yet the moment Dad found out I hesitated, he called me into his study and laid down the law. I must attend every event, from the rehearsal dinner to the farewell brunch, or he'd withdraw his financial support entirely. No tuition, no rent, no allowances. He even threatened to call the university to revoke my scholarship letters if I dared challenge him. I sat there, stunned. Part of me wanted to stand up, slam my fist on the mahogany desk, and shout, "I'm not your puppet." Another part of me wondered if it was worth losing everything I'd worked for just to defy him. The weight of his expectations pressed down on me, and I felt my resolve crumble. That night, I confided in my best friend, Jenna, over the phone. She told me I deserved better, that my father's threats were manipulative and cruel. But she also reminded me that family can be complicated and sometimes requires compromise. "Meet him halfway," she suggested gently. "Go to the wedding, show up for your brother, but set your boundaries. Let him know you're not his ATM." I promised Jenna I'd think it over. But in the back of my mind, another thought simmered. What if I had the means to stand on my own 2 feet? What if I could prove that I wasn't just my father's dependent, that I could support myself without his strings attached? That idea was a seed, and by the time I hung up, it had taken root. I posted about my predicament here a few days ago, and the responses blew me away. One commenter suggested I gather my financial documents and calmly present them to Dad, showing him my bank statements, income from freelance consulting, and investment returns. Another pointed out that weddings are emotional minefields, and that sometimes stepping back and watching quietly can diffuse tension. A third comment encouraged me to remember that blood is thicker than water, that attending the wedding might be more about healing old wounds than just obeying a tyrant. Reading these perspectives, I realized I was stuck in a binary trap. Either I obey or I rebel. But real life isn't a checkbox. I decided to combine the advice. I'd attend the wedding on my own terms, and then, when the time was right, I'd reveal the truth about my finances. If Dad wanted control, I'd show him I'd already taken charge of my own life. In the week leading up to the ceremony, I threw myself into preparations. I booked my flight, selected a simple but elegant suit, and even practiced small talk for the cocktail hour. But every time I looked in the mirror, I felt a pang of doubt. Was I doing this for my brother, or to spite my father? Was I trying to prove something to Dad or to myself? The morning of the wedding, I arrived at the villa's grand entrance, its marble columns gleaming in the sunlight. Guests milled about, snapping photos, chatting excitedly. My golden brother, looking dapper in his tux, spotted me and waved. His smile was genuine, his hug warm. For a moment, I forgot my anger. We laughed as I apologized for arriving a bit late. Traffic, I told him, and he waved it off. During the ceremony, I watched Dad sitting in the front row, his expression unreadable. He didn't look at me until the last vows were spoken. When the officiant pronounced them husband and husband, a cheer went up, and Dad finally turned my way. I braced for a scowl, but instead, he nodded curtly. That nod felt like a crack in his armor. At the reception, the atmosphere was festive: flowers, music, speeches. When it was my turn to speak, I hesitated. But then I remembered the comment that urged authenticity over obligation. I stood, tapped the microphone, and said, "I know there have been tensions in this family, but today isn't about blame, it's about love. I'm proud of you, brother, and I'm grateful to be here." Applause rippled through the crowd. Later, as Dad and I stood near the balcony overlooking the sea, I took a deep breath. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, showing him my balance, my pay stub from last month, and the invoice from my freelance consulting project. His face shifted from disbelief to something softer, surprise, maybe even a hint of pride. He muttered, "I didn't realize. You've done so well for yourself." I nodded. "I did what I had to do. I didn't need your money, Dad. But I came because I love our family." His silence stretched, then he placed a hand on my shoulder. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly. It was the first time I'd heard those words directed at me, not my brother. As the evening wound down, I caught sight of Jenna's text. "I'm so proud of you. You navigated that like a pro." Another message from a stranger in the comments reminded me that sometimes the hardest battles lead to the greatest growth. I realized I hadn't just stood up to my father. I'd shown myself that I'm capable, independent, and deserving of respect. But the story didn't end there. 2 days after the wedding, I received an unexpected call from the university bursar's office. They informed me that my scholarship had been temporarily suspended due to an inquiry from my father. My heart sank. Had he really gone that far? Panic surged through me, but I remembered another comment that advised taking immediate action when threatened. I contacted the scholarship committee, explained the situation, and provided proof that I'm financially independent. They reinstated my scholarship within hours, apologizing for the confusion. With that crisis averted, I thought the dust had settled. But then my brother approached me late that evening, his expression grim. He confessed that he'd overheard Dad telling my stepmother that he regretted throwing so much money at the wedding and that I was getting above my station. I felt a sting of betrayal, but then another twist. My brother handed me an envelope. Inside were 2 airline tickets to Europe and a note. "For our honeymoon. Let's make some new memories, just the 2 of us." Tears welled in my eyes. He'd used part of the wedding gift money to give me this, ensuring I'd feel included and valued. That gesture cut deeper than any argument with Dad. In that moment, I realized my brother wasn't golden because Dad made him so. He was golden because he chose kindness over rivalry. I flew back home with a renewed sense of purpose. I sat Dad down in the living room and said, "I know you love us both, even if it doesn't always look that way. But you don't get to play favorites with our futures. I'm not your golden child, and I don't want to be. I want to be me." He looked at me, eyes glistening. "You've always been you," he whispered. "I was the one who forgot." That evening, we shared a quiet dinner. No speeches, no ultimatums, just family. And for the first time, I felt truly seen. As I wrap up this 3-part saga, I'm struck by how a few lines of advice from strangers and friends changed everything. One commenter said, "Your worth isn't defined by someone else's expectations," and that became my mantra. Another reminded me that love sometimes means walking away from old patterns. And Jenna's voice stayed with me. "You're stronger than you think." So here I am, closing this chapter. I attended the wedding, defied my father's threats, and found my own strength. I exposed the truth, reclaimed my independence, and discovered that the real golden bond isn't about favoritism. It's about understanding, respect, and unconditional support. Thank you to everyone who offered guidance, encouragement, and tough love in the comments. Your words were the compass that led me back to myself. If you're facing a similar crossroads, remember, you hold the pin to your own story.